New year, new games, or in my case, a bunch of games from last year sitting in my backlog that I have arbitrarily picked out for another showcase. Listen, the crux of my game choices in these videos basically boils down to,
if I haven't seen it, it's new to me.
And with that said, let's get rolling. Omelet You Cook is like Balatro but without poker, or playing cards, and you make omelets. It's practically the same game. It's the world's first omelet roguelike where you have to make satisfactory egg calzones for a school's students and faculty using a wide assortment of ingredients to score as many points as possible. You do this by arranging each ingredient a certain way to up their respective point values, such as the bell pepper, which scores additional points based on how much meat it's touching, much like me during Frauding Fridays at the frat. Similar to its contemporaries, the key to success in Omelet is in finding combinations that synergize and scale well enough to meet the ever-increasing point quotas each round. You need both a well-crafted pool of ingredients as well as a good assortment of helpers, both of which are purchased at the shop between rounds. What distinguishes Omelet from other gambling gateway drugs, though, is that it's a much more active and chaotic game as much as it is a big number generator. Your ingredients are dropped onto a conveyor belt that only gives you a limited amount of time to pick one, and the obstacles and hindrances each customer can have makes every round a frantic scramble to get all of your ingredients where you want them to. Whether it be sentient forks trying to poach your shit, flaming matchsticks falling from the ceiling, and food getting haunted by ghosts, the chaos that can unfold on any given round gives a much higher sense of unpredictability that can make even the most promising of runs feel like they're one bad move away from failure, and even the most seemingly cursed runs from being one good ingredient placement away from success. I feel like in Balatro, you kind of get a sense of what you're going to score before the points are even counted, and after the 10th time of scoring more points than there are atoms in the known universe, it gets a bit desensitizing. But in Omelet, there's so much unique shit going on that it's practically impossible to keep track of that it creates a unique sense of anticipation of what your final score will be at the end of each round. And I kind of like that. There's been so many times where I thought, oh man, I am so f***ed, but then I end up scoring way more than I thought I would. Like, I had a crazy run that landed me the number 2 spot on the leaderboard on the classic mode by using pumpkin pie and parmesan and carrots and whatever to create some kind of point bonus kill zone that I was not expecting to work as well as it did. The improvisational nature of the gameplay and the vague at best sense of how I thought anyone Omelet would score created a game that was so much more addictive than I thought it'd be, and I don't even like omelets that much. I also just want to point out that I just love how stupidly charming this game is. The music just perfectly encapsulates the silliness of what you're doing, and I absolutely adore all of the different students and their descriptions. Minnie Marie, who just became the tallest in their class, Big Man on Campus Benny Mother Buzzin' Bumbler, and who can forget Alan? It's Alan! Every one of them even has or will have their own instrument incorporated into the music. That's so fun. Although f*** Chorizo and his stupid matchsticks, that dude gives us snakes a bad name. But yeah, Omelet You Cook is a great time, even in its early access state. It's silly, fun, and kind of relaxing, weirdly enough. Highly recommend it to anyone looking for a unique take on the Balatro-style roguelike, and oh my god, I finally got it. Omelet You Cook. Holy shit, it sounds like I'ma let you cook. Oh. Yeah, okay, I get it now. What was I talking about? This Is No Cave is a 2D momentum-based platformer whose title reminded me of my favorite line in the entire Halo franchise.
This cave is not a natural formation.
Wow, incredible observation, Cortana, thank you. You play as an unnamed spaceman who crashes into an unknown planet and naturally decides this is the perfect time to practice their floor routine. Your character automatically runs while you use the mouse to jump and direct a mid-air boost to fling yourself in whatever direction while using a short cooldown break to shift your momentum and make micro adjustments to your trajectory. Several new obstacles and mechanics are introduced, including some bouncy mushrooms, gas clouds that send you flying at ludicrous speed, and my favorite, these grapple points that are insanely satisfying to use. They obviously primarily function how you'd expect. You latch on and swing as fast as how you were when you latched onto it, but they have an interesting quirk where upon latching onto one, you can then click to fling yourself in the direction of your cursor regardless of your momentum. Despite this momentarily short-circuiting my brain due to defying all grapple hook logic I've learned up to this point, something about this particular mechanic was just so fun to me due to it giving you an unconventional amount of control over your momentum that I feel isn't typically granted in this kind of platformer. Clever thinking and quick reflexes can easily save your ass from death or discover optimized movement that's quicker than the intended path. I know I'm rambling a bit about something so rudimentary, but it's more to get to the point of how high the potential skill ceiling is for this game and how satisfying it feels to get better at it. Mastering a level well enough and blazing through with minimal mistakes just feels so good, and the game tantalizing you with a leaderboard at the end of every level scratches that part of your brain that says, I can do that faster, just right. And for those that might struggle with the game's more unconventional control scheme, there's several modular difficulty options to tinker with to get it to your liking. It's just an incredibly well-made movement system, which makes it all the more of a shame that the game doesn't have nearly as much content as I'd hoped. Depending on your skill level, you'll probably finish the game within the 2-hour refund window on Steam, at which point you will not refund the game because you're not a shitty person and everyone loves you, including me. Mwah. According to the developer, the game was supposed to have 3 worlds, but then they ran out of money and just kind of released what they had for a cheaper price, which not only disappoints me, but also makes me feel terribly betrayed because it means the title of the game is gaslighting you more than the literal gas clouds in game. Hopefully though, the combination of it being featured on GDQ as well as this video sparks enough interest in the game so we can finally get those other 2 worlds, because frankly this game left me with metaphorical balls as blue as this game's color palette. As it is though, This Is No Cave is great if you're looking for a fun little platforming jaunt or a new speedrun game to grind. It's like, say, Fruit Strikes Gum or me whenever I see Julia Louis-Dreyfus. It doesn't last for a long time, but it's still a good time, and can help relieve those aforementioned blue balls. Now, am I talking about the gum or Julia? Yes. Moving on. ODDCORE is a boomer shooter roguelike liminal space thing that has an aesthetic that coincidentally is best described by its own title. The most common sentiment among reviews that it's basically Ultrakill meets the Backrooms, and that seems to track even though I personally haven't yet played Ultrakill. You're tasked with the never-ending chore of cleaning the ODDCORE, a device that takes you to infinite rooms of amusement and existential dread, and have to clear out the digital demons that lie within. All you do is enter a randomly selected room, complete its objective, and hit your complimentary Oddman device to move on to the next one. However, you only have a limited amount of time to work with. You're given 5 minutes to start your run and could get more time by returning to the hub at any time by shooting and entering a portal from your Oddman. You then use the souls collected from defeated enemies to refill your timer, as well as purchase cards from the slot machine that grant small passive buffs, as well as allow you to purchase more powerful upgrades from the vending machines at shops. The game is very much designed around having as little downtime in a run as possible, as your time only stops ticking in a select few number of rooms, and every subsequent trip back to the hub makes the purchase of cards more and more expensive, meaning you don't want to dilly-dally for too long or you'll quickly won't be able to scale your strength enough to deal with the ever-increasing hordes. At the same time though, you have to make a point of keeping your timer topped up regularly, as random corrupted rooms can appear that block your ability to portal out until you clear them, creating a risk-reward dynamic that forces you to think ahead instead of just mindlessly mashing E every time you finish a room. Thankfully, you have a healthy variety of weapons to choose from, consisting of your typical FPS stand-ins, pistols, SMG, shotguns, frog, the gang's all here. You also have a selection of gadgets to grant additional mobility, utility, and damage options to round out your loadout. When you're done blasting baddies and need a break though, you can get to the real game and play around the arcade where you can win tickets to purchase new weapons, cosmetics, and a dinosaur. I can't even begin to tell you how happy I was to see the inclusion of one of those coin pusher games here. It feels so cathartic just to be able to spam coins after years of being tantalized by those literal edging machines. Insert frat joke here. What caught my eye with ODDCORE though was its presentation and tone. What on the surface just looks like visually administered Adderall lies something a bit more mysterious and sinister underneath. The underlying horror elements and the several nothing or transition rooms that appear make for an interesting juxtaposition to the core gameplay. Speeding through several rooms just to be met with sobering silence, surreality, and existential dread after indulging in an intoxication of stimulation is interesting to say the least. And the mesmerizing soundtrack, while limited, strikes the perfect balance of being somewhat soothing while still complementing the fast-paced nature of the game. And as a fun gimmick, the tracks themselves offer differing gameplay modifiers when you assign them as the main tracks. And you can even add your own custom music so you can listen to, I don't know, Nickelback Nightcore or something. ODDCORE still has a bit of a ways to go in its early access state. Itemization could be better, with most upgrades just being stat ups and the amount of content obviously needing to be juiced up, but as it stands, it's still a good time that's well worth its current asking price.
DISCOPUP. 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 DISCOPUP.
In contrast to the previous game, DISCOPUP is a cute game about a seal trying to get into a dog-only party and nothing else. It's a time loop game where you have less than an hour to find a suitable disguise to sneak your way into the party and dance your blubber off. Many actions you take add time to the clock, whether it be talking to people or sifting through trash cans. And once the clock hits 2 a.m., the club closes its doors because this is America and we famously hate fun here. Now, I'm gonna level with you here and say that I'm typically pretty bad with puzzles, but this is one I actually jived with. The area you have to explore is just contained enough so that you will stumble upon a clue or knowledge to get you closer to your goal more often than not. And a select few key items persist between loops to act as a kind of checkpoint for your progress and helps cut down on repetition. Much in the vein of games like Outer Wilds, DISCOPUP is centered around deducing the puzzle pieces thrown at you and figuring out how those pieces fit together. However, there are several red herrings strewn about that force you to think a bit more outside the box in their solutions. Just when you think you've hit a wall, you'll stumble upon an alternate solution that will make you feel like this GIF. It's a well-designed little mystery scavenger hunt that was a pleasant one to solve without having to seek outside help. And any game that manages to do that while I'm the one playing it definitely deserves some praise. Stop, you! I have to be as vague as possible to avoid major spoilers, but obviously this game isn't just a wholesome romp with a town of Animal Crossing characters. It has its charming and funny moments, but as you'll quickly figure out, there's something more ominous lingering beneath the surface that makes itself more known as you progress. It's creepy and even outright scary at times, but in a tasteful way and not a cringe, "and then Sonic appeared with realistic bleeding eyes" way. Overall, DISCOPUP is an interesting experience for anyone into these kinds of short, weird indie puzzle games. If I could sum up the game in one clip, it'd probably be this one that made me laugh way more than it should have. Incredible stuff. Next game. Much like Ram Ranch, Fretless The Wrath of Riffson really rocks. It's a musical-themed RPG that I'd honestly say is one of the most underrated games of 2025. You play as Rob, on a quest to become a rock star by winning a local Battle of the Bands contest. It's a very linear affair with some occasional optional bosses and branching paths with some expected trappings of your typical RPG. But the main star of the show here is the commitment the game has to its musical theme both in its gameplay and presentation. There are 4 weapons in the form of instruments to choose from: the all-rounder acoustic guitar, the burst damage focused bass, the buff and debuff generating synthesizer, and the 8-string that lets you summon literal demons from hell. Each weapon has you assign 16 riffs to your deck that are then drawn at random on your turn. You then pick up to 3 riffs to play in any order on your turn and play them in sequence. Pressing the button at the right time deals extra damage while attacking and reduces damage taken while being attacked. It'll be familiar to anyone who's played a good Paper Mario game, but it has a little bit of a twist in that each attack is set to the rhythm of its own music, and after learning said rhythms, you'll be able to correctly time your inputs with your eyes closed. No problem for someone like me, being a bit of a guitarist myself. Check this shit out. Wait, shit, sorry. Hitting said inputs then fills your crescendo meter, which enables a powerful ultimate attack that has you briefly play some Guitar Hero for additional damage. It's a simple but fun combat system that has a great sense of impact thanks to some spectacular animations and the aforementioned accompanying soundtrack that's completely unique to each weapon. I'm of the opinion that the synthesizer is the most busted instrument in the game, but goddammit if I couldn't help but head bop to the groovy bass music. And that careful attention to detail expands to the rest of the game with some impressive artwork and some of the most expressive animations I've seen for a pixel art game of this caliber. I particularly love Rob's expressions while using the synthesizer. He's like, "Ooh, careful, I might play Zombie Nation at you, ooh." And I absolutely love the musical elements incorporated into the world, from little bell plants that ding as you run through them, volcanic vents in the form of church organs, and these trees that gracefully whistle in the wind. But as you might expect, the audio is what ties everything together. Fretless is an absolute treat to the ears with an an incredible soundtrack and overall level of care that clearly shows the devs seem to care more about how this game sounds than how it looks. Jamming out to a crescendo attack and hearing it seamlessly transition back into the regular battle music never got old. It's just so crispy. If there was one thing I wish this game had though, it would be some harder difficulty settings. The game can get pretty easy, especially as you accumulate more upgrades and equipment, and the handful of times I did die were due to me just kinda screwing around rather than due to the difficulty of the fight itself. It's not the end of the world for what is otherwise an amazing game, but it's worth keeping in mind for anyone who likes a little bit more pushback from their RPGs. As a complete package though, Fretless is a genuinely spectacular time. It's pushing it a bit in terms of what I consider to be a hidden gem, but I liked it so much that I couldn't help but give it some more exposure that I think it deserves. It's a passionate celebration of music that I think anyone can enjoy and appreciate. And with that said, I think that calls for a little song. God damn it!